Hey y'all, it's Nelsie, and thank you for tuning in to my very first podcast episode. If you know me, you know I've been talking about starting a podcast now for a few years, I think since 2020. I've been talking about this and I've been putting it off, but I decided to pick up the mic today and film or record this episode for you guys. And the name of the podcast is Ride With Me. And that name came to me, actually, my boyfriend gave me the name. So, most people, when their brain juices start flowing with ideas, they're either in the shower or late nights alone. For me, it's when I get in the car, honey. Like, when I get in the car and I'm by myself, like the music could be really loud and then like something just clicks in my brain, like an idea, a topic, whatever it might be. Once I get that little light bulb, I turn the music down. I either start having conversations with myself, like how I'm talking to you guys right now. Like I just start talking. Like I'm recording a podcast. So that's where the name Ride With Me comes from, so that you guys can get into my mind and to the conversations that I have with myself in the car. Like me driving by myself is the best time. I have the best time driving alone. It's like free. Like, I don't know. If you drive, you understand what I mean. Like when you're by yourself in the car riding, and especially if you're on a long trip, you are able to just be yourself, sing as loud as you can at the top of your lungs, say whatever it is, because no one's listening. It's just you and your car and the road and the journey where you're going. So that's where the name comes from, Ride With Me. So every single time we come on here, we're talking, you hop onto the passenger seat and we're going to ride together and we're going to talk, honey. So let's get into it. Okay, so today's topic is the power of structure. And you guys, this is my very first episode. I don't have the most expensive equipment. I'm literally under a blanket right now to create a sound booth. So if I'm breathing too loud or whatever, just bear with me and listen to the message that I have for you guys today. So the power of structure. We're going to get into this, what structure means and how we can create structure in our lives. So like I said, I was in the car today coming home from class, and out of nowhere, like when I tell you guys these topics, I'm pretty sure I'm not the only one, so I don't ever want to sound special. So even though I am special, you are special, we're all special, but I'm pretty sure none of us are just unique, so unique that every single thought, every single thing that we do, like especially when you get on TikTok, you realize you're not so unique. Other people think and do the same things you do. So I'm on my way from class, I'm driving, and then I just think to myself, like I was thinking about what I was doing, what I was going to do after class. And out of nowhere, I really can't tell you where this came from. It just came to me. So I'm pretty sure God be putting these things on my heart to say. And I've been wasting my talent by not coming on here and telling you guys what goes through my mind. So basically, the word structure hit my mind. So we're going to talk about the power of structure. So let's give a little backstory about myself, who I am, and we're not going to get too deep about myself because this episode isn't really me talking about myself, but it's just we have to put some pieces together in order to bring the whole puzzle together. So everything that I'm talking about are pieces to the puzzle, to the end message. So basically, when I graduated high school, I graduated at 17. I started my first job as a nursing assistant at 17, and I enrolled into college. So when you graduate high school in America, you have choices. So you either enroll into college, join the military, go into a trade, or do a gap year. So I went to college and I enrolled into I didn't enroll into anything yet. It was just basically your prerequisites, because that's what you got to do before you do anything when you're going to college to get your AA, which is your first degree. So basically, I enrolled into college with the thought of becoming a nurse. I've always wanted to be a nurse. Like when I grew up, you would ask me when I was little, what do you want to be when you grow up? I'd be like, I want to be a nurse. I'm pretty sure every little girl wants to be a nurse. And you ask them why? Because I want to help people. Like, that's not a good enough reason. Okay. You can help people other ways. That's what I realized as I grew up. So, when I started working as a nursing assistant, I realized when looking at the nurses from the nursing homes I worked at, even in the hospitals I worked at, I never seen a nurse that I would aspire to be like. I'm like, do these people really love their job? Did they really go to school and put hours into this so that they can do this, what they're doing right now? They don't love it. They don't seem happy at all. So I realized, nah, that's not going to be for me. I'm the type of person, if I'm not happy doing it, I'm not doing it. And when you know yourself, you know immediately if you're going to be happy doing something and if you're not. So I knew immediately this wasn't for me. So that was something I didn't want to do. So fast forward, I start working out. And mind you guys, I lose interest in things very quickly. So this is something I've struggled with. If I lose interest, I'm not doing it. And that's simple. It's crazy. Something I need to overcome. So fast forward, I start working out. I love the gym, and I realize another thing. I need to help people. This is my thing, When you go into a career, they'll ask you, why do you want to do this? Because I want to help people. So I start working out and I love it. So I go back to school to become a certified personal trainer. And I also got my nutritionist certification as well. So I go back to school for that. And then I quickly realized after working at a gym, and I'm like, you know what? This is boring. I don't want to do this. I don't want to just stand next to someone and tell them, okay, next we're going to do this and then count. Like I lost interest. And I started doing online training. And then that online training is another thing. I would still do that, and I still do. So that's okay. But that to me is like a side hustle. So fast forward to now me going back to school to become a surgical tech. Another reason to help people, but that's not my end game. This is just a stepping stone to get to the next step of my life. So now that's a little bit about me. Okay, so to actually talk about the topic that you are here for us to talk about, we're going to start. So from the age of 5 to the age of 18, when most people graduate high school, and from the age of 5 to when most of us begin the whole schooling thing. So we are going to school for about 12 to 13 years. The average person goes to school for 12 to 13 years, and that's a big percentage of our lives. Believe it or not, it really is. So from that age, from that big chunk, 13 years. 13 years is a whole decade, over a decade. So when you think about it, you're going to school for a really long time. And sometimes we look back and we're like, I don't remember anything that I learned in school. Like, I'm not using anything that I learned in school in my day-to-day life. And we bash school because we feel like they didn't teach us anything. And this is a thing I feel like school taught us. And you can either look at it in the negative point of view or look at it in a positive point of view. Whichever way you look at it is the way you look at it. But today we're talking about the positive side of what school taught us, unknowingly what school taught us. And you might know this, but maybe you just never thought about it from the way I'm going to explain it. So from the age of 5 years old to the age of 18, we start school. And when you start school, the first thing you do is, first day of school, you lay out your clothes the night before, and you have to be at school at a certain time. And I'm going to talk about high school because that's what that was the most recent thing. Even though that was 6 years ago, I still can remember setting up and getting ready for school every single day. So from high school, I remember waking up at 5 a.m., getting ready, getting dressed, and to be at the bus stop by a certain time. I would say 6 a.m. ish. And then I had to be at school by 7:33, which is when classes were starting. And from 7:33 to 9:03, that was my first period. And from 9:03 to 10:48 was my second period. And then after my second period, the lunch period started. So from 5 years old to 18 years old, from going to school, we are being programmed on a schedule. We have a set schedule on when we have to be at school, what time this class is going to start, what time this class ends, what time our lunch break is. So when you take a step back and you realize, apart from the subjects we are learning from at school, apart from all of that, you take a step back and you realize, what is school preparing me for? What are they teaching me? To what can I take from what I am learning here and use in the real world? So I'm thinking of it. School taught us to get ready to work in the workforce. So it's a whole thing. It's like a whole pyramid that of capitalism. They create this so that let's teach them the power of structure and use it to our advantage in the workforce. So we teach them structure and the power of having a schedule and a plan and how to execute that plan and achieve the end goal, which when you're in school, the end goal is to graduate. So let's teach them that so that when they get into the workforce, they are used to us telling them what to do. They're used to us giving them a schedule. They're used to us creating structure for them. So in school, structure is created for us. Our time is managed for us. We do not have the power to manage our own times. So because when you're in school, they don't give you the power to be creative with your own time and the power to create structure over your own life. They don't give you that power. That power is taken from you and it's being done for you. So you're basically a puppet and or a robot, and you're just to show up at the time that you are supposed to. And if you don't, there are consequences for your tardiness, there's consequences for your absence. So when you graduate high school and you jump into college, not college, you jump into the workforce. After college, you jump into the workforce and you begin your first corporate job. You are to be there at a certain time per your boss, your managers, your supervisors. You have to be there at a certain time. Your lunch period is scheduled for you. Your meetings are scheduled. So what you learned in school, you may not utilize what you learned in school, but you're using it without knowing that you are using it because they're teaching you to follow directions. They're teaching you to follow their structure, and they're teaching you to be managed. So they're not teaching you how to manage yourself. They're teaching you how to be managed by someone else. And that's what I recently learned. So when you decide, hey, I don't think school is for me, I don't think working for someone else is for me, I'm going to try and be an entrepreneur. I'm going to pursue and something for myself. I'm going to make my name known for generations to come. When you try to step away from capitalism and try to step away from your time being managed by someone else, try to step away from the structure that someone else was creating for you, and you step into creating a structure for yourself, you step into managing your own time. My question is, how do you create structure? How do you manage time that you were never taught to manage for yourself? How do you create a structure that you were never taught to create? And that's the question that came to my mind today in the car. And I feel like that is the reason why most of us fail at entrepreneurship, is because we weren't taught to be entrepreneurs. We were taught to be the workers for the entrepreneurs, the big bosses at the top. So let's back up a little because I just said a lot. In 2020, I launched my business in 2019, but in 2020 is when my personal training business took off. I launched my YouTube channel in 2019, but in 2020 is when my YouTube channel took off. And because of a video that I posted in 2019, in 2020 during the pandemic, people were at home and they had time on their hands. They started watching that particular video. And in that video, I was promoting a product that I was selling. And because of that video, I was able to make thousands of dollars selling the products that I was promoting in the video. And during that time, the whole state, the whole country was shut down. We were all at home because of the pandemic, and most people were laid off from their jobs. I was laid off. I was working at a gym during the time, and the gyms were the first things to close down during the pandemic. So the gyms closed, and I had no job. And thank God I didn't have to apply for unemployment because I had my business to fall back on. And I never even went on the unemployment site because I was an entrepreneur and I was making money in my sleep. I had a stream of income that I didn't have to lift a finger for. All I had to do was package and ship my orders. But that quickly came to an end. And why that came to an end is I'm now realizing is because I had no structure, I had no schedule, I had none of that. And it's because it wasn't taught to me. And this is something you need to learn on your own by reading books, listening to podcasts, doing your own research on what makes someone successful. What did they do to get to their point? To the point where they are now, where they're just chilling at the top and they have people working for them. These are things that you have to study. And if you do not go out looking for it, you're not going to find it. So, because I had no structure. So, let me try to say what I'm going to say without talking in circles. So, when you decide to show up for yourself, when you decide not to show up for yourself the way you said you were, what are the consequences? So let's say you said, okay, I'm going to use the gym for example. That's always my example. So let's say you told yourself you were going to wake up at 5 a.m. tomorrow morning to go to the gym, and your alarm rings at 5 a.m. and you press the snooze button until 9 a.m. You're still in bed. By 9 a.m., you wake up and get ready for work and you have a normal day. What is your consequence? What is your consequence? Because if this was something that your boss told you to do, if this was school, you would have been up at 5 a.m. sharp to get ready to show up for someone else, because all your life you've been taught to show up for other people. You were never taught to show up for yourself. So because of that, we lack structure. We lack the power of sticking to a schedule. And it all boils down to discipline. But I feel like without having that structure laid down first, you're not going to build that habit into being a disciplined person. So I feel like the structure, I actually don't hear people talk much about structure. It's always discipline and motivation, but you need to lay down a structure in order to become successful at something. And this isn't just about entrepreneurship. Not everyone wants to be an entrepreneur, and that's okay. But when you say you're going to show up for yourself, you need to show up for yourself. And you can show up for yourself in different ways that I may not know of, in different ways only you know of, and that you failed yourself by not showing up. But let that have been someone else at work that told you, hey, you need to be here for this meeting. I know you've been working from home, but we're having a meeting in person. You need to show up. You're going to get dressed, put on your Sunday best, and show up at that meeting for them. But when it comes to showing up for yourself, you lack that structure. You lack the ability to show up for yourself. And that's because we were never taught to do things for ourselves. We were taught to do things for others. So what I want you to do what I want you to take away from this episode is make today your last day where you stop showing up for others before you start showing up for yourself. So what I'm going to do, what I was telling myself in the car, what I'm going to do is making a schedule. From the minute I wake up, there are 24 hours in my day. And I am up for about 16 of those hours. And I'm asleep for 8 hours to make that 28, 24. Did I say 28? There's 24 hours. So I'm up for about 16 of those hours. So for 16 hours, I should have a schedule that tells me what time am I waking up, what I'm going to do from the time I wake up to the time I get out of class, from the time I leave work, what I'm doing. You need to schedule every single hour. Like every single hour in your day should have something. And it doesn't have to be something so crazy. It could be something so mundane as cleaning your room, something you do every single day. But write it down, put it on a schedule, create a structure, an outline for you to follow and stick beside it. So, for example, 5 a.m., wake up. From 5 a.m. to 6, you're getting ready. You can put getting ready. From 7 a.m. to 8, you could put drive to school. From 8 a.m. to 1 p.m., you could put school, because that I'm going based off of my schedule. And then I get home from around 2. So from 2 p.m. to 3 p.m., go over materials that we learned at school. From 3 to 4, hit the gym. From 4 to 5, make dinner. From 5 to 6, clean. Like, you need to have a schedule. Even if you're going to sit down and watch Netflix, you need to put that on your schedule. Like, every single thing that you plan on doing should be written down. And this is an outline to create better habits. This isn't something you're going to be doing your entire life. Like, when someone asks you, hey, for Nelsie, are you free Friday night? I'm going here and I'd love it if you'd come. Oh, hold that thought. Let me check my schedule. Let me see if I have time. Because when you have no structure in your life, you're going to be down for everything. Anything that someone invites you to, you're going to be down for it because you have no structure. Even if you said that you were going to study Friday night, but because you have no structure and you haven't built the structure to create the discipline for you to stick to it, you're going to go out with that person on Friday night. You're going to say, forget it, I'll study when I come back. And you don't want to do that. You don't want to do that. So when you look at your schedule and you're like, oh man, I actually have to do this. I have to study. So we'll check next week. Next week, I'll actually put that time into my schedule for us to meet. So create structure, create a plan. So don't let people create structure for you to follow, because I promise you, it's going to come a time in your life where you're going to regret everything, that you're going to regret not showing up for yourself. You're going to regret not going after the things that you said you were going to go after. You're going to regret it. And even at my age, at 23, there are some things that I've said that I was going to do that I didn't do, that I regret. But the thing is, I have time. I'm only 23. But if you're older than that, and you said you were going to show up for yourself in a way, and you are not showing up for yourself, but you'll show up at work, you'll show up for your boss, you'll show up for everyone but yourself, it's because you lack structure. You need to create a structure. You need to create a schedule. And I'm so serious about creating a schedule that every single hour, every 16 hour that you are awake needs to have something. And I'm so serious. Like, if you're going to watch Grey's Anatomy from 8 a.m. to 9 p.m., you need to put that down. You need to check it off of your list to the point where eventually you won't need that list. The list is just a starting point. You won't need the list. You won't need the list at some point. But if you have that list and you follow it to the T, and now I know life happens. Life happens. There are some times where you might have scheduled to meet with that person Friday night, but you're having such a good time and you look at your schedule, you only scheduled 2 hours to spend with that person, but you're having a good time and you want to stay for 45 more minutes. Go ahead, stay for 45 more minutes, but still go home and do what you said you were going to do. You're just going to have to go to sleep later that day. And the next day you just repeat and follow your program, follow the structure, follow the plan, follow the schedule. So yes, life happens. There's going to be things that happen. You might not be able to follow your schedule every single day, but once you've created that discipline from the structure that you created, you'll be able to get right back on the horse, even if something were to throw it off, even if something were to distract you. And when you have structure, you are less likely to be distracted by things because you are focusing on what you got going on. You don't care about what Sally's got going on. You don't care about what they got going on because you're focused on you. So I really want to cut this a little bit short. And I hope that you gained some knowledge from what I was trying to say. It sounded better in my head, but I really urge you to create structure in your life. Create a schedule. Create that so that you can build the discipline that it takes over time to be able to achieve what you want to achieve. Because it's going to come a day, like I said, where, and for example, let's say you don't have structure. Let's say you're a person who lives alone, or maybe you have, okay, you live alone. You work a 9 to 5. You went to college for 4 years. You got your bachelor's. You got your big girl corporate job. And you come home from work. You're an independent woman who don't need no man. You come home from work. You make dinner. And you sit down and watch TV. So you come home at 5 p.m. and you turn on the TV, you make dinner, you listen to your music, you eat your dinner, you do the dishes, you clean up, and you sit down on the couch. And that's your life for the next 10 years. Maybe you go out with some friends occasionally, but that is your life. If you're someone who don't enjoy working out, or you don't enjoy if you're someone who don't enjoy working out, you don't have any habits or hobbies that you do. You just go to work, come home, go to work, come home, go to work, come home. And you have no structure because you're so used to following the structure they've created for you at work. 10 years from now, you're going to look back and like, what have I done? What have I accomplished these past 10 years? I have nothing to show for myself. Yes, I have the money that I've made from work. Yes, I have my coworkers that I consider as my friends. I have this, I have that, but I haven't accomplished anything for myself. I haven't accomplished anything. 2 years ago, I said I was going to start working out. I never did it. 2 years ago, I said I was going to take a cooking class to improve my cooking skills. I never did it. 2 years ago, I said I was going to take a pottery class to learn a new hobby. I never did it. And that's what happens when you don't create structure in your life. And you just go day by day. You go with the flow. Going with the flow is overrated. Create structure, follow it. Create a schedule, follow it. And then discipline will come. Discipline will come, and eventually it'll be a habit. It'll be a habit. It'll be something you wake up and do without even thinking about it. So that's all I got for you guys today. I hope you enjoyed this episode. I'm so happy that I was able to make this episode for you guys. And I hope that I was able to relay the information that was in my mind for you to understand. And if you don't understand what I'm trying to say, hit me up. I'll explain it even more. So I don't mind. And I would appreciate some feedback on this episode, whatever it is. I am open to constructive criticism, always open to it. So I do hope you guys enjoyed this episode. If you did, don't forget to rate this podcast. Give it a like if you're watching on YouTube. And I will see you guys in my next one. Next time we get in the car, I'm going to have you hop into the passenger seat with me again, and we're going to talk. So I'll see y'all in my next one.